Hi there, I'm Linda, the Gracious Vegan, and this is my channel for sharing my plant-based recipes, tips, and tricks. And today I'm going to demonstrate how to how to saute onions without oil, with just water or broth. And I'm joined today by my niece, Megan. How are you, Megan?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Aunt Linda.
Great to see you. So let's get started and we can talk as these onions cook. I am going to use, instead of water, I'm actually going to use vegetable broth. I pre-diced a cup of onions. So I'm putting those into my pan. You can preheat your pan if you like. Usually I don't, but today I turned it on a couple of minutes early. So what I like to do is start out by coating the pan with a thin layer of water or vegetable broth. And then I like to distribute the onions as much as I can in a single layer across the bottom of the skillet. I like to use a non-stick skillet when I saute onions or other vegetables because it just makes it easier. They stick less. This pan is a ceramic nonstick skillet. It's a 10-inch ceramic nonstick skillet. I really do like ceramic nonstick coatings. This particular brand is Green Pan, and they make a lot of different models with ceramic coatings. This, I believe, is called the Venice Pro line, but you can get more expensive and less expensive ceramic nonstick skillets if you like. I can start to hear some bubbling as the onions and the broth heat up. What I like to do is I don't like to stir continuously. I just like to let them cook until the broth evaporates, and then I stir, add a little more broth, and let that distribution also cook and then evaporate. Usually it takes 2, sometimes 3 cycles, and then they are soft and transparent. So Megan, have you water sauteed onions before?
I did last night.
Oh, well, there you go.
Or no, not last night. I did 2 nights ago because I was making your easy creamy tomato soup. So I did a bunch as a start to that, and it worked great. I did it in my Dutch oven.
Yes.
And it worked perfectly.
Yeah. Dutch ovens are great, and anything that has a pretty wide base so they can lay as flat and be distributed in a single layer as possible. But even if they're in kind of a double layer, it still works. It just takes a little longer.
And I did use broth because I liked it. I like the color, and I like the smell, because that's the thing to me about cooking onions. I love the smell at the start of you're cooking. And
exactly. Yeah, I agree. These are coming along really well. Usually each of these cycles takes 2 or 3 minutes. So this isn't quite ready. I'm going to turn up the heat. I usually have the heat somewhere around medium. Sometimes if the pan conducts a lot of heat, I will use medium low. Sometimes if it's a small burner and the pan is a really thick metal, I'll use medium or a little above medium. Usually never close to high. You want to give it some time to cook. So these are nicely bubbling.
It's such a nice trick because when my husband and I started trying to move oil, particularly seed oil, but then slowly most other oils as well, out of our diet, I feel like every recipe starts with a glug, glug, glug of oil in the pan.
As part of a healthy plant-based diet, I like to avoid oil as much as I can as well. And at first I didn't quite believe it. So I just cut down the oil halfway. And then I cut it down another half and added more water. And finally I said, the oil isn't really doing much at all for me here. So it saves calories, it saves grams of fat. There are a lot of particular risks around certain oils. And I know you've told me from your reading about the processing of seed oils, lots and lots of harsh chemicals are used.
What it can cause as it reacts to natural things in your body, just that highly processed of a food, and specifically those seed oils and how they react to different things in your body with your cholesterol and all of that, it can do some damage. So we've been trying to slowly but surely find other solutions.
Exactly. That's right. So as we've been talking, the broth, this first layer of broth has kind of cooked away. So I'm going to stir the onions and redistribute them and put on another layer of broth. Usually by the third time that we go through this cycle, usually the natural fat in the onions themselves provides some browning. There we go. So I'm going to distribute that and we'll start the second cycle. It's interesting how a lot of vegetables contain just a little bit of natural fat, and that can actually promote some of the browning effect. They're already getting transparent and soft, and that's all you need before you can start the rest of your recipe. You can also meal prep onions by chopping them up raw and then freezing them in various containers. And then you can, when you start to water saute, just put the frozen onions in the pan with some broth or water and just start to water saute them. And that's a nice meal prep trick, right?
I love that trick. I haven't done it yet. I need to get more like meal prep containers and bags and stuff, but I have some uncut onions in my fridge and I need to just turn a show on and chop a bunch.
Exactly. One of my students told me that when she has her contact lenses on, that's when she cuts onions.
That's awesome.
I remember when I was going through a real sensitive stage, I had to actually wear swimming goggles when I cut up my onions. It worked fine, but
I wore chemistry goggles in college one time because I was chopping onions for 40 people and in a big industrial kitchen, and I was crying and I was like, oh, a use for my chemistry goggles. But I wear contacts too, so that normally really helps.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, but now I don't cry. So I don't know if it's the onions or me or what. All right, so this is getting nice and brown.
That looks great. I've heard a sharp knife. If you're really crying, it's because your knife is dull.
Oh.
A sharp knife cuts down on the crying.
Oh, that is a great tip. Yeah, maybe the juices don't fly around as much.
Right. Yes, you're getting a much finer split. You're not doing as much damage, quote unquote,
Nice
to the onion.
Nice clean cut. Great tip. All right. Well, I think we only took 2 cycles today. I think I got the heat just right, and you can see.
It looks great. Sometimes it takes a third, right?
Yeah, sometimes it takes a third. You know, it all depends on your pan, your heat, your onions, everything. And so this time it only took 2 cycles. They're getting brown. And now they're ready for the next ingredients. You could also, you know, sometimes I have garlic in here. Sometimes I have mushrooms. When I have mushrooms, they release so much liquid sometimes that I don't really have to add a lot of extra liquid. So a lot of variations here. But you can see there's even a little sticking in the bottom of the pan. And if your next ingredients don't have liquid that you can deglaze the pan with, you can just add a little more broth or oil and kind of scrub it with your wooden spoon, and all that goodness will come up and stick to your onions and add flavor. So there you have it. There's our water sauteed onions ready to go into a recipe.
That looks awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for joining our video. Megan, I'll see you later.
See you later, Aunt Linda. Thanks
Bye,
for having
everybody.
me.
Till next time.